Grand Rising loves. I hope you had a beautiful solstice and Letha. Got to enjoy the sun and all of its beautiful warmth. Enjoying all the growth in your life and lives. Welcome to another Moonday guided meditation. Meditations from Wild and Wise by Amy Bammel Wilding. This week's meditation is on one of my favorite goddesses from ancient Kemet or Egypt. And it is Hathor, the goddess of pleasure. So if you're new, welcome. We begin the meditation with the opening segment. It's a description, and then we go into the meditation. I highly recommend having a journal because after the guided meditation, there are questions for deeper reflection. And I highly encourage writing them down so that you can reflect on them throughout your week in life and just ponder them in the goings-on of your day. So get what you need to be comfortable. Water, blanket, pillow. We'll get cozy and we'll begin. Let's just take a nice deep breath in together, in through the nose. And out when you're ready. Do another grounding, centering breath. And exhale. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So Hathor and pleasure. Hathor, the Egyptian goddess of bodily pleasure, was one of the most revered deities in her region and was honored for over 3,000 years. Depicted with a woman's body and the head or horns of a cow, Hathor was credited with creating the physical body to house our immortal soul, and graced humans with all physical pleasures such as sound, music, song, dance, art, love, taste, smell, and touch. So beloved was she that more festivals were held in her honor than any other deity of her time. Celebrations related to Hathor focused on dancing, singing, food and drink, and entertainment, all things joyful and pleasurable. When we embody the wild wisdom of Hathor, we give ourselves permission to prioritize our pleasure, to attend to the sensual experience of our embodiment, and to practice the art of sacred self-care. And we will begin our meditation. Take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, imagine yourself floating on a beautiful boat along the Nile River in Egypt, gently rocking from side to side. Your canopied boat travels gently along the river, traveling slowly past many beautiful stone temples. your boat comes to a gentle stop at the foot of a walkway that leads up to a beautiful temple. And you step with bare feet out onto the warm marble walkway. As you walk toward the temple, you notice all of the details of the intricate exterior, the type of stone, the carvings or words etched into the facade, the shape and size of the building itself. Feeling welcomed and expected, you step into the sanctuary of this temple and are immediately filled with pleasure. As you look all around, you notice the lavishly adorned space, the sound that you hear, the delicious food and drink set on a table for you. And then you notice the goddess Hathor reclining luxuriously in the place of honor. Hathor smiles at you and says, "Welcome, beloved sister. I have been waiting for you. You've been invited into my temple so that I may teach you the importance of pleasure." You thank Hathor and ask her to share what you have come to learn. Pleasure, she says, is a fundamental aspect of our well-being, but something that is undervalued in your culture. Without pleasure, our lives become monotonous and gray. We lose our passion and creativity and our deep inner joy. As women, we are taught that focusing on our own pleasure is selfish. But this could not be further from the truth. Nourishing our well-being by making time for our pleasure is one of the most important things we can do for ourselves. And despite what we may have been told, it is healthy for others as well. For as we experience pleasure, we radiate our well-being and give others permission to prioritize their pleasure as well. When we take time to fill ourselves up with pleasure, we give to others from a place of abundance rather than obligation. But how do we prioritize our pleasure when so many of us have completely lost touch with the concept of pleasure, you ask? I'm glad you asked, Hathor replies. For today, we are going to have a day filled with pure pleasure, just for you. Your day can be filled with anything you would like to do. And because time does not exist in this space, the day can last as long as you like. Tell me now, sister, how will you experience pleasure today? You spend time telling Hathor in detail how you would like to spend the day, knowing that your pleasure is the only thing on the agenda. Hathor replies, "That sounds delicious." And so it is. After spending the timeless day nourishing yourself with everything that brings you pleasure, you are filled with a deep sense of fulfillment and joy. You thank Hathor for teaching you the wisdom of pleasure, and embrace her before you step back onto the walkway that will take you to your boat. Hathor reminds you that you may return whenever you need, to remember the importance of your pleasure, and invites you to commit to a practice of prioritizing your pleasure. You step into your boat once again and begin your journey back up the river, gently floating up and up until you are fully embodied once again. Here, in this moment. Welcome back. Just take a nice deep breath in. Being in this fully embodied now space. If you have a journal or a piece of paper, I'm going to read off the questions for deeper reflection. What cultural messages have you internalized about your right to experience pleasure? Okay. I'll read it again. What cultural messages have you internalized about your right to experience pleasure? In what ways are you currently preventing yourself from prioritizing your pleasure? In what ways are you currently preventing yourself from prioritizing your pleasure? And lastly, what would it feel like to give yourself permission to cultivate a practice of pleasure? What would it feel like to give yourself permission to cultivate a practice of pleasure? Lovely, divine, soothing, relaxing, replenishing, rejuvenating, healing, empowering. So many things can happen when we prioritize our pleasure, even in the littlest ways. I have some tea. Inside my tea is some oat milk and some honey. It is the last little bit of samurai chai mate from once upon a time ago when I worked at Tivana, when that was still a thing, like inside malls. That was a long time ago. But it's delicious. And I love having that little bit of honey and that oat milk to make it creamy, and then the cinnamon. It's a small thing, but this is one way I prioritize my pleasure. I take my tea in a way that, to me, registers as absolutely lovely. And we can all do that for ourselves, really prioritize our preferences, because it does bring us joy. And our joy is so important and valuable. I love that. Giving from a place of abundance rather than obligation. Because the effects are giving. How we feel about giving. And our gift deserves all the love and joy that we would want it to have in any ideal situation. So it's healing for ourselves and others to prioritize our pleasure. So I absolutely would love to hear about how you all prioritize your pleasure this week. That would make me so happy to hear from you. And before we go, we will do some Reiki, some healing. With the intention of healing our relationship to pleasure, healing and removing and clearing any blocks to pleasure, dismantling, disintegrating any old programming that no longer serves us, that surround pleasure, any old belief systems about pleasure, any core woundings around pleasure. That's going to be the intention for this Reiki. So as always, all you have to do is accept. You can do it verbally, you can do it mentally. Just be like, I accept this healing energy. And you will receive it. So I invite you to be comfortable. If you want, you can close your eyes. If you want, you can keep them open. Either way. Let's just take a deep breath in together. Take a nice deep breath in. And exhale. And I hope you have a beautiful, blessed week. Infinite love and blessings. And I'll see you all real soon.